And our goal for this session is just to actually talk about the collaboration as a whole and kind of go through the guiding questions, and just kind of explore the collaborative part of it. And then we can kind of talk about next steps a little bit more about where we go from here. Does that sound good?
Yeah, sounds great. And I think why not share this as well? I mean, it's
Totally,
part
right?
of the
Yeah. No,
process.
it's
Yeah.
it's more of like how to contextualize it or put it in.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's not yeah, so what I did was I shared with you kind of my what I call the five guiding questions for
Hmm.
collaboration, which are just starting questions,
Yeah.
for people who are looking to collaborate. I created it specifically for people looking to collaborate around groups, but it works for any collaboration.
Hmm.
So I guess what my first kind of question to you is, as you're coming into this, kind of having considered those questions, how are you feeling? What's going on? Where are you at?
Yeah, I think it's just a nice idea to, to have a conversation about the collaboration and like we discussed when we talked last time, it's like, how do we make this a win-win? That is like really important um, for me so that we're both clear and that this can be very harmonious. Like the last thing I think we both want is some kind of injustice that we feel like, oh, this is not. So just,
Yes.
make it all clear at the beginning, I think is so key. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's for me too, is that idea of when we do anything, we're having thoughts, we're having feelings, and yet we're not always super conscious and super clear at the beginning of a collaboration. Because I know for me, I'm a very positive, like, ooh, I can see the potential in everything. And going through this helps me to really slow it down a little bit and capture that excitement and capture what's really important to me, but also allow space and time to kind of say, like, what am I worried about? Like what is it that's happening that maybe I'm not fully conscious of, but it gives me that opportunity to do it.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
really good. Mm.
Um, I have
Feels
to
very
say,
mature. It's like, ooh, we're like super mature human beings here.
totally. And we're acknowledging that we're human in this,
Yeah.
right? And that as we do this, like the story I make up is, this is your body of work. This is a really important offer that you want to bring to your community, and there's a preciousness around that. And so, you know, inviting someone in both from the creation standpoint, but also a potential opportunity to co-lead, there's risks with that, or there's perceived risks, right? And
Right.
so just acknowledging that that's part of what happens, I think is
Yeah,
super important.
exactly.
Yeah,
Hmm.
very
Yeah.
cool. So do you want to go through each of the questions and we can just kind of share our answers?
Yeah, let's do
Very
that.
cool. Okay, so the first one is, what is the goal of this collaboration and the experience as a whole?
Yeah, so what we why this came up is because I'm working on a new program called How to Sell in 2026 and Beyond, and just wanting to take this group experience to an even deeper level. And, yes, enjoying each other's company already through the collab workshop and the podcast, and just realizing we have shared values. There's things that I can learn from you. And so yeah, that's how we entered this conversation about the collaboration. And I see what I can win. So yes, hopefully an even deeper experience for the participants, also for myself, and just having someone else co-lead. I mean, that's fun. I mean, at this stage in life, all I want is to do good work and also have some fun. So,
Agree. Yeah. Do
yeah,
good
those
work,
are,
have some fun. I like
yeah,
that. I can sign
exactly.
up for that.
Yeah. And then we also said, well, we want to use that as a case study for you, so that's the win for you. Um, and just have you experience that with a group and see how that can lead to an offering for your own business. What can you learn? What went well? What didn't go well? And then the third thing I think is really that I feel like people come and look to me for new, innovative ways of doing business, right? That's kind of the brand that I created. And because I keep telling them question all the assumptions, and I tell them we're lacking role models of the new, and so they're looking to me for being that role model. And so this collaboration feels like walking my talk about the P of partnership and just telling them, look, this is what we're doing. We're experimenting because it's never been done before. And so now here's how it went.
Yeah. And I love that part. That part of it too is that, we are we are walking into something that we think is a possibility. We see it as, this moment in time is really calling forth that partnership piece and saying we don't have to do all of this alone. And there is a way that we can support each other and, kind of do good things together. And
Mm.
so I love the fact there's a part of me that's like, oh crap, what's this going to be like? But I love that experimentation part. And to experiment with someone else is also, it's just a little safer, right? It's like, okay, two heads are better than one. And, the ability to have the conversation as we're going through it. And I'm really looking forward to the openness that we've created around being able to share what's going on. So I'm really excited to kind of get the feedback from you as well as you're going through things, because I know you're super aware of what's going on in your body and your mind and what's calling you forward. And so to get that insight, I'm really excited to kind of see what that is. And I know that there will be learning in that for me as well.
Mm,
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also just I love the approach that you have in the book for selling like you're human. So I don't know if I'm halfway, but I'm close to halfway through it. And as I was reading it, I was like, oh, this is needed right now, right? Like this idea of, hey, hold on a second. It was so funny because I'd been listening to a podcast on the way home. I can't remember where I was. And he was talking about this, like you need to decrease the demand, the supply in order to increase the price, like all this. And then I read your book and I'm like, no, that's not what we need to do. So it was so confirming for me to be like, yes, this is Sarah's approach to selling like we're human is absolutely something that I believe in. And so to be able to have that be the center of this group is really exciting for me too.
I think, yeah, that's a big part of your offering as well, to only engage in groups where you can stand behind, because otherwise, honestly, I don't think it would work, that
It
partnership,
doesn't.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it
Mm.
it re especially the co-leading, but even the other part, right? There is such a need for alignment because of the preciousness of people's groups and their expertise. So it's
Yeah.
like it's a lot harder to hold that space with them if I wasn't believing in what they're saying or if it's like in direct contrast to like my values and that type of stuff. So a
Yeah,
big part of my process is really having it clear what my values are and how I like to work and then making sure that there's a good connection before we really dive into the work.
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very cool. Okay, so then the next question is, what are you worried about?
Yeah. I sat with this question a while and I was like really thinking, well, what is it that I'm worried about? And like I have, I've experienced a lot of partnerships, and yes, there's a few of them that didn't work out, but it, that's not what worries me. I think the only thing I came up with is like not having enough participants to get a group together. But then I was thinking, well, then we just postpone it, and then we do it another time. So yeah, there's not like specific worries that I feel like this is not gonna, she's gonna walk all over me, or like any kind of like, oh, I should be worried about my content. None of that. So
Right.
yeah, I feel
Awesome.
really good.
Well, that feels good to hear. So that's great. The worry about the participants, I think, is always a worry, especially with groups, because especially how we design them, you need at least six people or to really kind of have that engagement and have that connection. And so I think that's such an important worry. And part of what we'll do, I call it the plan to pivot. And what we do is before we even do pre-launch, we talk about what happens if we don't get the whatever that minimum number is and what is our plan for that so we can be working on that plan as we go, but we also create the plan of what if we get too many people because sometimes that happens too. And so
Hmm.
having that plan in place ahead of time makes it so that some of the tension, there's still tension in launch, there always is, but some of that tension, it's like, well, we have a plan for that, we know what we're going to do, and there's some, postponement is part of that, finding other people, all sorts of stuff. So that'll be part of what we do too. Um, so for me, my worry is, because this is still new and untested and, trying to put it together, I'm worried it just won't make sense. Like at some point we'll look up and be like, what was Carrie thinking? And so that's part of it, right? When it's really new and fresh, I have this vision in my head. I have this imagined ideal of what this could be. But, when you start putting it all together, like, ugh, maybe, maybe it doesn't work.
Right. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, but at the same time, I think it depends if we're attached to a certain outcome, then yes, maybe the worry is justified. But if we're looking at it both as a growth experience,
Yeah.
then yeah, there is no it didn't work. No, we both learned
Yes.
something and
Yes.
that is
Right.
the outcome.
Yeah.
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 And then the other worry I have is just, you have so much experience leading a group. There's this voice in my, the back of my mind being like, am I going to even be helpful? She has so much experience doing this. And so that's
Mm.
just my own stuff coming up, but I just want to acknowledge that it's there because, part of the work that I do is often with people who have done groups before. I find that people who have done them before kind of have a better understanding and appreciation for my perspective and what I talk about. But it's always a little bit there of like, well, what if this person turns out, well, they knew everything and didn't need me? So just putting that on the table.
Yeah, it's good to put it on the table, but again, for me it's a big part of this is walking my talk around partnership, and just because of that, it's worth doing. And then yes, I think that at this stage of experience, it's all about the small little adjustments. It's not going to shift the way I do groups completely, but it's those small little things that are going to make a huge impact. And
Yeah.
that's really what I'm excited about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I just love that you are aware of that, right? Like that the enhancements at this point or the up leveling or whatever the language is they are those small tweaks. And
Right.
there's these small things that make a huge difference. And
Mm.
so many times those small differences aren't really recognized by the participants. Like they're not aware of it, and yet it changes their experience.
Yeah, it's kind of like subconscious
Yeah.
almost. Uh-huh.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
Hmm.
So what would you say your strengths in this collaboration are?
Um, well, as we just said, I have certain experience with groups. I have experience with the art of hosting. So I really come from a place of holding space more than just teaching. And I think that's a big strength that I have developed over the last years. So I'm comfortable with uncertainty. I'm comfortable with people's uncertainty, and that is a big part of being able to hold space for others because I've learned to hold space for myself and then now apply this to hold space for others. So that's yeah, I think that's one of the strengths that I bring. And then the content, this idea of selling like we're human. I wrote a book about it. So It's interesting because up till now I didn't feel like, oh, there's a program in me for this. So this is a bit new for me, but I feel very grounded and solid because of the timing. I just feel like now the time is right. And so yeah, that's another strength that I bring. And then this openness to collaborate. Like I have an undefined ego in human design, and there's nothing that I feel like it's like, oh, this is mine and like nothing like that. And so it just feels really good to collaborate.
I
Yeah.
love that. I love that so
Mm.
much. Um, so for me, what I see is the strength in this collaboration is just the level of expertise that we both bring to it. You know, there's so much here that we get to work with, and I'm really excited about it that. And so this my strength in kind of acknowledging and like appreciating the expertise that we both have. I also think we have a really similar view of business. That's part of what our conversations, whether it was, pre-recording or recording or during the live session or before and after it. And so, um, I love that we have that, similar vision and similar values, and we also are really noticing that this is the time for it, as you said. Like there's something about the timing, both of like this collaboration, but also this work and kind of doing it. And so being aware of that. And then obviously kind of that the expertise that I bring around the small intimate groups, I think is something that's a little different that, not tons of people are talking about. And yet that's where I really think the power of connection and the power of results really blossoms. And so that's part of what I'm bringing to the collaboration too.
Yeah, exciting.
Yeah. Um, and then the next question is just what are the obstacles you can foresee?
I don't see any obstacles. If there's
Good.
obstacles, we'll find ways. Yeah, so not
Yeah.
not
The
worried about obstacles.
The only obstacle that I kind of am just aware of is like a timing standpoint, like do we have enough time, which I think we do, but that's always kind of a piece of it. And then making sure that it doesn't take me too long to catch up on your area of expertise and how you like to run groups. I've been part of a couple of your things and reading the book, and so I'm just aware of like, okay, I'm not worried about it. It's just I'm coming into this not having spent like a year in your programs and knowing kind of how you do things.
Right. Yeah. I
Yeah.
I can I can understand that.
Yeah. Thank you. And then what was it that was appealing about this particular collaboration? We've kind of, said some of that stuff too, but is there anything else that you want to?
I think what we're doing right now is like actually building it live. And so then sharing the process of this collaboration, on our podcasts and with vulnerability, and also sharing if then things didn't work out and we have to postpone or whatever
Yeah.
it was. So not just leading up to it, but then also maybe after do a recap of what went well and what you're now going to do with that. Is it going to
Yeah.
lead to an offer? So yeah, that is exciting. And then again, we said this before, but this idea of creating different ways of being in business and seeing, yeah, how of course right now we have this agreement that we are just experimenting. So maybe we can also just share with transparency that there's no money involved in this collaboration.
Yeah.
But in the end, that is the goal, right? Still to somehow get paid. And so whether that develops into a paid partnership between the two of us, or if it's just something that you will then use in your business, yeah, we can continue to share how that evolves as well.
Yeah, I love that part of it. It's like not just like the build up towards it, but kind of continually sharing the process goes and as, the launch happens and all that type of stuff about it.
Yeah.
Um, I'm really excited too, or the most appealing part is, um, I really value your expertise and your perspective on business and selling and humane marketing. And I think it's so needed in this world right now. I know even just as like a customer, like I'm so much more sensitive to, what people are saying and how they're saying it and, all that kind of stuff. So the more people in the world that have this more humane approach to it, I find really appealing. And so to be able to play, one tiny part of kind of having more people out there operating that way is really appealing to me. And then I also, we've talked about this too, like there's something longer term that I feel like with you and I, where there is this potential for other opportunities, other ways of supporting each other, whether that's, in collaborations like this or also just like being fans for each other and like, telling others about there's something about the longer term part of this that I find really appealing too.
Yeah, exactly. To develop on that, and I think it's this human element that we so often still, yes, we're all busy, but that's to me it's always an excuse. So when I do say, let's partner and let's do a collab workshop, I really mean the collaboration part, right? And I
Yes.
think you're one of the, yeah, there's about a handful of people who really understand that part. And
Yeah.
for others, it's still kind of like, can I get some visibility out of this
Yeah.
piece? So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, right. And the invitation to collaboration doesn't always get met with collaboration. And
Yeah.
that's sometimes like that's what we learn too, right? And so
Hmm.
when you find people who are truly interested in collaboration, it's so nice because it
Yeah,
really can be the win-win-win
exactly.
of like real longer term partnerships and collaborations. So yeah, I love
Mm.
that part too.
Yay.
So, with all that said, I'm curious about kind of what what's outstanding for you. Is there anything that you're kind of like, okay, I still don't know, or and holding space for the fact that we're trying to figure it out. But is there anything left unanswered or untalked about at this point for you?
I guess I can't picture it yet. I mean, when you mentioned the co-hosting, you were kind of like, well, if there's breakout rooms, there's going to be a chance for me to be in another breakout room. Um, yeah, I'm just kind of like wondering, well, what happens during the time that I'm actually delivering content? Um, what's not kind of what I know a little bit is during, for example, our collab workshop that we did, right?
Yeah.
You were on that end, you were the expert, uh, teaching in quotation marks. And the way I have these collab workshops is like, yes, you are the expert, but I can then come in with questions or lived experience. And so maybe the way I kind of see it is that you're going to play that role. And because sometimes we have groups where the people are, I don't know, too shy or not confident enough, and they're not actually asking the questions that kind of float around in the room, but nobody dares to speak up. So I would
Yeah.
love for you to play that role, right? So that's one
Yeah.
way I could see it.
Totally. So I think you've hit it completely like the nail on the head there in terms of I read it once as an article where it's like the Yoda role. So it's like
Mm,
that permission to kind of say the things that you sense that are out there and happening and people are thinking, but they haven't quite either because it's new or it's like uncomfortable. So there's that part about it where I see it is kind of like as you demonstrated, but it's like, oh, I'm there kind of representing the group essence sometimes, where
right.
it's like,
Yeah.
oh, that didn't land, or like that instruction didn't, there was questions about that, or could you say that another way, or that kind of thing. So it's almost like I'm there as the representation of the essence of the group while
I
you're
love that.
sharing. And
Yeah.
then, there'll be other times where, it might be that, hey, I'm leading them through because it's more of a reflection opportunity or a celebration. And then you take on that role of you get
Right.
to kind of
Mm,
represent the essence of the group. So there's a flow to it and there's like a back and forth. And
mm.
it's a different idea. So part of it is about really how do we, you know, share this at the beginning so people understand, well, who's this other person in the room, and why do we care, right? And so, people sometimes are familiar with more of what I would call a producer role, where it's the person who's checking in on the chat and making sure the technical stuff is
Yeah.
there, which
Don't want that.
no, right? Like it's like so people are kind of you not even used to. They've seen that sometimes. And so it would just be about us kind of setting the stage in that first session in particular of, hey, this is Carrie, this is why she's here, this is what we've done. I think this helps us because people will hear it ahead of time and will be part of what people might have, seen before they said yes to being part of the
For
group.
sure.
But it really is just setting that context and just recognizing like, okay, that's the role that I have in the room for most of it.
Mm. Yeah, it's great.
Very cool. Okay, so in terms of kind of the process from here, the idea is we're just going to work through kind of the typical steps that I take clients through when we're putting a group together, especially when it comes to a book. I love doing groups that they're not the book in group form, right? It's not that you take everything from the book and put it into a group. It's that the group is like the book is the foundation of the group. And I've had everywhere from an author who we took one slice of a book and made a whole group and certification from it. And then for others, it's a bit more of the group, right? And so what we'll be doing is going through the process of kind of saying, okay, what is this group about? And we start with it's the VIP process, but it's, the vibe promise. What is the environment that we're promising we're going to create? Who's that ideal participant? Who is this really for? And then what is the program promise? So what are we promising they will accomplish and or experience in our time together? And so that's really where we start because once you have that VIP, all your other decisions are super easy, or they're at least impacted by the VIP. So, how long should the program be? What kind of activities should we include? All that. The VIP really helps us to inform the decisions we make around that. So, the first session we do, that's where we'll start is the VIP process. And I always love to start that with a visualization. So what I will do, normally I would give you that visualization and I'll give it to you so you have it, but I think we do it live. I think we
Yeah,
record it and just kind of see what happens.
sounds very cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
Awesome. Well, I think that's it for this collaboration piece where we're figuring it out in the next steps, and we'll catch you next time as we jump into the VIP part of the group design.
Very good. See you next time.